Elections integrity. You have come out in support of the elections integrity bills making their way through the Texas legislature. And you've heard Democrats call this Jim Crow 2.
It's very interesting they call it Jim Crow 2.0 because Jim Crow 1.0 was a Democrat initiative. So maybe they should learn a little bit from history.
But what do you make of their criticisms? They continue to say that this will suppress the vote, particularly among black and brown community members. What do you say to that?
I say that you've seen an increase in voting among blacks, especially since 2008 with Barack Obama, and I think you've seen a strong showing in the Hispanic community. You know, when you're talking about voter ID, where can you go anywhere in the United States of America without picture ID? I get on airplanes all the time. I see blacks and I see Hispanics presenting picture photo IDs to be able to fly. Now, is American Airlines, Delta, or some of the other airlines, are they racist? Or buildings that you have to present an ID to go into? But when you start to talk about the nationalizing of the of the election system here in the United States of America, which is not an enumerated power to the federal government, to say that we will not have photo ID anywhere in America, to say that we will now have voter registration roll review anywhere in America, to say that we're going to have these universal unsolicited mail-in ballots all across America. You know, we don't need 24-hour voting. I've never, in my 60 years, heard or seen 24-hour voting. And Texas election law is very specific about this thing called curbside voting. If you're someone that is handicapped and you have difficulty getting in and out of your vehicle, you can go to an assigned designated polling location and you can coordinate for your ballot to be picked up by a designated poll worker. But just to set up these curbside locations in all of these different precincts, like we saw Chris Hollins do, the Harris County clerk, in Democrat precincts, that's not what we want. That does not instill confidence in people in their election system. So I think what the Democrats are trying to do is fearmonger people and making them believe that the Voting Rights Act is being supplanted, suppressed, or what have you. But we saw out in Arizona that that issue was ruled against them.
They also criticize what they call the criminalization of elections workers, and they worry about poll watchers having more powers than elections workers. What do you say to that?
I say that the poll watchers have a designated duty and responsibility, and anyone that is infringing upon that designated duty and responsibility is violating and breaking the law. You know, my polling location is just right over here, South Garland, at the library on Broadway Boulevard, and we had an incident there where one of the Democrat supervisors physically accosted a person that just happened to be a Republican. But nothing happened to that person. I mean, even though the Dallas County sheriffs were called to that incident. We cannot have that. We cannot have that type of intimidation going on in our polling locations. This is something that we, you know, members of the military have fought for. We have deployed to other countries to make sure that, you know, Iraqis and people in Afghanistan have free and fair elections. But yet here we have these issues, these unconstitutional actions that are being done where governors, secretaries of state, judges are changing election law. We cannot allow that to happen.
What do you make of the situation where the Texas Democrats went to Washington, D.C. to deprive the House a quorum?
You know, that's hypocrisy at the highest level, to block the representative democracy here in Texas and then to go up there to Washington, D.C. and champion and say, we want you to end the filibuster. And furthermore, why would you have state representatives? And understand this, Jack, you're sitting in the state House district of Retta Bowers. I have no state House representation right now, even though there's a special session. She's up in Washington, D.C. asking for Dr. Pepper and candy and other things. But they have done what we call in the military, they're deserted their duty station. They have abdicated their responsibility in being a duly elected representative of the people of the state of Texas. They are, you know, derelict of their duties. And so if I were governor, as soon as those private jets had set foot down in Washington, D.C., called a press conference and declared those seats vacated, and then we'll call for special elections because the people of Texas deserve to have representation.
Can the governor do that?
Well, I think that people are looking into that, but if I'm the governor, I'll call for a special session and you decide that you're going to desert your post, you decide that you're going to undermine our representative democracy and not appear at your appointed place of duty, then I say that you're not properly representing the people. And if you think that that's an inappropriate assessment by me, then come back and let's have the debate. But don't run away to Washington, D.C.